Alright, so this is going to be a little different in that the vehicle has taken damage and we're not going to do a full disassembly as much as a teardown and then a reassembly. So the part to pay attention to is to see what things we have to put back together when we reassemble. This is my brother's 2010 Ford Fusion. It's his old vehicle. He doesn't use it anymore. But I've been wanting to rebuild the front bumper, and I finally got the parts from the junkyard yesterday. So we are going to move forward in doing that. I've got the front bumper and the core supports for the radiator and the bumper and all the good fixings. The only thing I don't have is this headlight. Unfortunately, someone had already smashed it to bits by the time I got to the junkyard. So we're going to go ahead and get started on this. Alright, so normally the front bumper is held in with a series of these 7mm screws, but this one is so badly torn that these screws aren't attached to anything, but these are 7mm. There's a whole string of them all along the bumper skin here. These are all torn, so we're just going to go ahead. There's a cable tie or two that's been put in to hold this together. We're going to take that out, and then we'll start on removing this bumper support as well, because it is damaged. Get the camera, there we go. So that's loose and damaged. I've got the replacement for that. We'll pull that out, and also this is the bottom of it, but we'll be replacing the radiator core support because it's also damaged. So I'll bring you back once we get started on that. Alright, so we got the remains of the front bumper off. As you can see, there are electrical connectors for the fog lights. That's what my brother is pulling right now.
If I can get a hold of it.
Yep, nothing fancy. They're press the tab and give it a wiggle, but they are a little sticky because they get covered in road junk.
Well, this I think will rotate out. If I can get the...
I just pulled the ears loose and then slid it out. Yeah, like that. So you got to get these out. That one is particularly sticky. Alright, so after having a battle with the fog light, wanted to show you the bumper support. There was a fender bender, and it didn't look it, but as you can see, the plastic part of this, though it's still here, it is somewhat damaged, like right there. But also, more importantly, the metal behind the plastic, it got dinged in pretty hard. So I've got a replacement, and hard to see, but there are 4 main bolts, 2 at the top, 2 at the bottom, and there are a couple of bolts, such as right here, and I think there's another one. Yeah, there's one right there.
It didn't actually damage the radiator though.
And one there, and down there. So normally headlight has to come out. This headlight will have to come out. It's still normal. This one is busted loose. Won't be too hard to remove. Unfortunately, we were not able to source a replacement. I do apologize for this noise. We got to have a fan running, otherwise it's just too hot to work. It's very hot right now. So we're going to go ahead, start working on pulling this, and after we get it done, bring you back. Okay, so wanted to point out, this one's not a great example, but that is a 10mm bolt. Headlights are held in with that. There's only a bolt there, and there's a bolt there that has to be pulled. This one does not have those. You can see that over here on the passenger side. There's a 10mm there. There's a 10mm that goes here. And there's a 10mm that's supposed to go there. And there's a couple other ones that need to go in. One other bolt spot to note real quick. There's supposed to be a bolt that goes right there, though it is missing on this one. So headlight out, give you an idea of better view of this support here. It needs to be replaced. On the bumper again. These are 13s. And we got one there. And there's normally one there, one down there. One here. And normally one down there. Here is a better view of the radiator support. So that same bolt has to come out for that. And then one comes out here. One there. These accessory bolts have to come out. This bolt has to come out. That one has to come out. And then there's a couple kind of buried in here. So bring you back when that's done. Alright, we're back. We've got the front bumper support off. And that is the radiator support right there. It's pretty banged up. We've got everything out of it except for the latch assembly, which threads through this hole. So we got to figure out how that's going to work. I think we can disconnect the cable here, but we're having to figure that out.
That's
Meanwhile,
where's the baby? You pass me the baby ratchet.
Yeah. Meanwhile, where we are right now is the hood is off. That's actually an item of replacement, but we needed to remove the hood.
Get a good shot of that.
Because
look at that beautiful patina.
Well, that's why the hood came off, the old one. It's pretty banged up. And the new one looks a lot better.
Much thanks to my ex-wife.
But the radiator support right there holds the prop rod. So we had to free up the prop rod in order to get the support out, which meant removing the hood. And just understand that if you remove the hood, it's 4 10mm bolts that if you intend to put your old hood back, take a Sharpie or a paint pen, mark an outline around where the hood latch is going to line up, so that way you can put it back exactly the way you had it, so it'll actually latch correctly. In our case, we've got a new hood, or a new to us hood, and we're going to have to figure that out anyway. So after we get this radiator support in the clear, we will start with the rebuild. To remove the cable from the latch assembly so we can thread it through the old and new support, it looks like it's pretty similar to a brake line. There we go. So you compress the little fitting right there to get some slack, and once you have slack, you can remove the little ball out of its holder in the latch assembly. So we got slack, and out she comes. Very good. So latch assembly removed, and now you can pull the cable out, and now the core support is free.
One of those push tabs.
Yep, and that is a brace where the latch mounts, and it does go across the front of the radiator support. Quick note here, this is a little plastic piece, I think. It's just used to hold on other plastic pieces. It has a 7mm bolt over here. I believe there's another bolt that goes in right here. This is the replacement I picked up from the junkyard. It looks like it will bolt in. So we're going to go ahead and put that in. There's one on each side. Just wanted to point that out as we begin the reconstruction process. Progress update. Now what we found out is that you really have to put the radiator support and the bumper support back on together. So we bolted them together here and here. Zoom out so you can see that better. We went ahead and put them together there on the ground. And then, if you look under here, the radiator support needs to, well, as the name implies, hold the radiator. So you have to line it up with the feet of the radiator here, and there. Sorry, there, camera fail. And there. So you do that. There are 2 metal tabs that will pop in on the unibody on the back side of this. So we've got a bolt in on each side, and everything is lined up and it all looks really good. So we're gonna put the plastic shock absorber back on the front here, and then we're gonna go ahead and continue with reassembly. So quick update, we've got the support in, we've got the latch back on, we've got the cable reconnected, we've got these sensors here redone, we've got the driver's headlight back in. It's still just going to kind of sit there because all the brackets are broken, it needs to be replaced. Right now my brother is working on replacing the horn assembly, which kind of died when water started getting in after the inner fender liner got torn out. He's working on that. After that's done, we're going to replace the passenger headlight, put that back in. We're going to put the hood back on, and we're going to have to call it there. We are out of time, and we will pick this up another day to finish putting the bumper skin on. Okay, so we're back. We went ahead, we've got the passenger headlight is secured. You notice we now have the hood back on and it closes easily. The way we did that is we left these 8mm bolts loose so we could line up the latch, and then we initially left these 10mm loose until we were comfortable with how it was closing, and we were good with it. This hood is still kind of banged up. It's a lot better than what the old one was.
I mean, it still has paint on it.
Yeah, other thing you got to make sure about, reconnect your washer line. You know, small things. And if you could go ahead and close the hood. Compared to what we had before, this is much, much better. Remember, we have this versus that. Big improvement. We're going to save, as I mentioned earlier, the bumper skin for another day, but this is what we have here. So,
be very gentle. That might actually fall out front right now because of the holder.
Well, you know, it's Jadzia. The name of this vehicle is Jadzia, and she, personally, I think the name should be changed to Jezebel, but that is my opinion.
Hey, she had a hard life.
Alright, so one thing we did, as you saw, we did the horn relay. So let's go ahead and we're gonna first make sure it still cranks, because I gotta move it.
Oh, toot the horn.
Yep, and we're gonna check out the horn. So I guess we can check that now. Alright, we have a horn for the first time in 3 or 4 years. And she cranks. So the tire thing's fine. There's a fuel code is the reason why we got to check engine light, but she cranked. Well, I believe you did basically just did a reset.
That's true.
I mean,
it's completely and utterly true. Okay.
Yeah.
It just relearned its crank.
In fact, you don't even have a check engine light for the moment.
Oh, it'll come back.
Oh, I know. But we got a working horn. We cranked. And this will be in another video, but we have a replacement driver's seat because this one is kind of worn there and worn here. And so we got one at the junkyard today that's not worn out here. We'll have to do an airbag module replacement, and we'll do that as part of the seat video. But for this part 1 of the front bumper skin, really just front end replacement, because all this was banged up and crunched up. And okay, so we have the front end on, and let me show you briefly what we did to get it started, because it's not all the way on yet. This topmost piece here, it slides into the, see here, all right, it slides into this grill. It's actually a separate piece. So there are 4 connections, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. Slide those in. There are 4 plastic fasteners that pop into the headlights. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. Now these are kind of suspect because this headlight's still broken. But that's how that goes in. We've got the top tacked in with these bolts. 1, 2, 3, and 4. They are 10 millimeter and they are short. So that's basically all we have right now that's holding the front bumper on. There's a ton of 7 millimeter screws along the bottom, but we haven't gotten to those yet. If you take a look, you can see some of the holes for them. And we also have yet to reinstall the fender liners, which needs to happen. That's how the horn died the first time around on this vehicle, is fender liner got ripped out and then water got splashed in, and then that was that. I did forget to mention that the bumper is also being held here. There's a plastic piece that runs from here to here that clips in, and then in turn you clip the bumper to the plastic. The pieces I got are from the donor vehicle. They're not perfect, so there is a bit of a seam. This side's about the same. So we're going to work on that. We're going to get the bolts in on the bottom, 7 millimeter bolts, and get the fender wells installed. I'll bring you back when that's done. Fender liners. So on this vehicle, they're primarily held in by these plastic fasteners. And it's pretty straightforward. You're going to have a hole in the liner. It's going to line up with a hole in either the quarter panel or the bumper skin, and you just push them back in. I am recycling these. I don't recommend you do that. I'm doing it because I don't have a fresh set and we're just trying to get this tacked in. Now up front, if you look on this center fender line, there are bunch of clips, and that's for those 7 millimeter bolts that I mentioned a moment ago. So this has to actually sit up inside of the bumper skin there, and then you run the bolt in from the bottom. That's how that works. And I left the bolts that hold it all together. I left that zip tie and that bolt in. That's actually factory. Okay, I lied. It's not. Somebody did some work to it because over here it's 2 bolts. But anyway, that is how that's going to go back together. So I don't quite have enough hands here, but we have only one in the corner and one in the corner. So we're going to take that and just try to push it back in. That didn't work, and the reason why it didn't is I need to get some tweezers, small pliers, maybe some small needle nose, and I have to disengage the pin from inside of its case here. Let's see if we can, in case you've never worked with push pins like these. There we go, it's a little better. There's the actual pin, and that's the two prongs you see in the middle, and then there's the, okay, bad camera. Focus. Much better. So you have the 2 prongs in the middle. That's the actual pin. The triangle on the outside is what you insert first. It's the form. So you put the form in first, then the pin, and that's how it locks into place. If they're a little bit worn and squishy like this one, sometimes you can just knock it all in together. Sometimes not. So I'm going to separate these, and then I'll get a couple in and I'll bring you back in to see progress. Just to show you the in progress, like I said before, just line up the fender liner, and there it goes. Line up the fender liner with the quarter panel and the bumper skin, and just go around. There is one up there in the top. and there's actually one all the way over there, but in my case, the original fastener is still sitting in there. I don't know how I'm going to get it out, so we'll figure that one out. But we are. Get the camera to behave. We've got this side pretty much in, and now we're going to work on moving across the car. Alrighty, so we've got the fender liners in, both sides. Only thing left is the middle inner fender liner. That's the one that requires all the 7mm. So I'm going to get them lined up on the tabs, get them in, bring you back. Okay, as you can see, let me do this in here. There we go, better. You put the bumper, or the fender liner goes on top of the bumper skin. That way it actually holds things together. It goes all the way around. One thing I forgot to mention is on the interior, there's a spot for push pins. I only have enough for one, so it's right there. But we'll get we got a push pin kit coming in tomorrow, so we'll get those in. And then this will be done. And it looks 1,000 times better. So the fasteners came in, so we've got those installed now, at least installed where we can. We reused an old one there, got a new one there, and the pass-through right here was broken, so there's no need to put a fastener there. We got 3 out of the 4. It's pretty decent. And I'll go ahead and get the flashlight, show you guys the wheel well. Alright, so as you can see, we've got all the fasteners back in here. There's one right there, a little hard to see. There's a particularly sneaky one right. I can't zoom this in. There we go. There is a particularly sneaky one right there that's really easy to miss. But we've got these back in the wheel wells. So let's take a look at the end product. Alright. So before, anything from here forward was damaged. The radiator support was cracked. The bumper support, which you can see right there, the plastic, the crush core in the front was trashed. The metal was bent from front end collisions. This top piece was completely ripped out. The front grille was totally trashed. The emblem was gone. The front bumper skin was on its last legs. Now, this is what we have. Still need to replace the driver's headlight. It's held in place a lot better now that we've got these top tabs in there. And there was one screw we were able to put in down here, I believe. Yeah, right there. So its position is a lot better than it was, and it's not really going anywhere now, fortunately. But let's close the hood and get the full effect. Now this is not a perfect hood. I got this from the junkyard. It's got some nicks and dings in it. Whole lot better than what was on here though. It still has most of its paint, and the lines on it are still mostly true. And so there you go. Front end completely transformed with about $200 in parts from the junkyard. So that's going to be it today for this 2010 Ford Fusion, which is named Jadzia. Next step for her is I've got a driver's seat that I still need to install and an airbag swap that I need to do. I'll make a different episode about that. But for now, if you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. That helps me to make more content. And maybe, just maybe, we'll put enough coins in my pocket that I can replace my smartphone as my primary camera. primary. I can replace my smartphone as my primary camera. So, until next time, later.